Hello, welcome to RT Magazine, a show about Middletown High School, its students, and the community. News about you and for you. I'm Emma Kufza. In this week's episode, Gabby Pieklo gives us a closer look into the new hybrid model schedule that FCPS has established this semester. Cailyn Zanylo shows us how the marching band completed their season through COVID, and Baron Ropp takes us along for a challenging run on the treadmill. This week's show is brought to you by
Shockley Honda, located across from Westview on Route 85.
In our first segment, RT reporter Gabby Pieklo talks to the Superintendent Teresa Albin as well as MHS students and staff about the new hybrid model schedule, featuring cohort, shorter classes, and an earlier start time.
FCPS has changed the daily class schedule, which includes new features such as an earlier start time and more classes per day to prepare for the in-person hybrid model. FCPS Superintendent Dr. Teresa Albin explains why FCPS is using cohorts for the hybrid model.
In order to accommodate social distancing, we knew we had to have the two cohorts. So we knew out of the gate that we couldn't bring in everyone. So cohorts coming at different times have been how schools have addressed that. In the state of Maryland, most of us are doing the Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. There are a few school systems that did cohort A comes Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, and then the next week cohort B comes. The reason we went with the 2 days on, 2 days off is because as we were planning this, teachers said they wanted to make sure all students who wanted to had that opportunity to be face-to-face.
There's other major factors that went into changing the school day schedule.
We also have a mandate from the state that during any period of time where we're doing virtual instruction, we have to ensure an average of 3.5 hours a day. We had to look at how can we balance that time so that everybody is going to get 3.5 hours. We also didn't want to bring students into the building and have them just working on the computer while the teacher was in the room. So we anticipate that there will be classes where a teacher may say, I'm going to do a full introduction to everybody, and then virtual students are going to go work independently. The teacher will work with students who are in the classroom. We also wanted to make sure that the virtual schedule and the hybrid schedule for face-to-face were completely parallel. And so we wanted a student who was coming into the building, if they had to go into quarantine, to be able to slide very easily into the virtual schedule.
Parents and teachers have some concerns about the hybrid model.
Initially, one of the big concerns was, are you going to be able to keep my family together? So that, if I have a child like in your family in middle school and in high school, will they both be in the same cohort? And so that was one of the things that when we set up the schedule, we worked really hard, each principal, to make sure that families stayed together so there was a similar schedule at home for everyone. I think the focus right now has been teachers are just trying to adjust to how am I going to do this? How am I going to have some students virtual, some students in the classroom? What am I going to want to do? So most of the concerns that we've heard at this point haven't necessarily been about the cohorts. It's been about managing the instruction where you're kind of trying to do both.
The schedule has some new features such as an earlier start time of 7:30.
Well, I think now that once people were used to starting a little later, I think I've never heard anybody say they didn't like it, that they really, I think, enjoyed starting a little later. We had to go back to the old one because of transportation, because of bus routes, they're routed out at certain times. So transportation really drives when we start school.
Not a huge fan of the 5:30 wake-up call again. So it's every single time the alarm goes off, there's a little sigh in my head for having to get up.
I loved waking up at like 7 or 7:50. I would much rather wake up at that time and then have the school day go further into the afternoon.
7:30 is very early, so yeah, I would push it back another hour for sure.
I don't obviously like it.
I was waking up early last semester anyway for like workouts and stuff.
Still, I wake up later than I would going into school. Of course, no one likes waking up early, but I'm not one to complain. It's reasonable.
I love it. It's definitely more challenging, but it's when I feel like I'm most productive in the day.
Another new feature is we have all 5 blocks every day of the school week.
That's good. I'm glad to see everybody every day. I hope that keeps people more engaged than they have been. That's a good idea.
From the teacher perspective too, it's nice planning wise, so like, okay, like we just did this today, we're going to do that tomorrow.
That is really beneficial, I feel like.
Yeah, I like it because they're not like quite as long. They're not the whole hour and 20 minutes. At first, I was really upset about it because like last semester was so easy, just logging on for like 2 classes in Knight's Quest, and I thought it was going to make the days go by so slowly, but it really hasn't been that bad.
Mr. Donald shares some final words.
Hopefully we will get through this without anybody getting seriously ill or dying. That is the biggest thing we need to worry about in Frederick County Public Schools. You can bounce back from a bad year of education. You can bounce back from a bad test score. Death is something you're not going to bounce back from. So let's really hope that we abide by all of the rules and safety and keep your mask on and keep your distance. And let's all get through this so that, we can get to summer and hopefully things will get back to normal between the time of the year by the time we get out of school in June and the time we come back in August.
COVID-19 has had a substantial impact on many activities at MHS, but teachers and students have overcome with creative ways to overcome the challenges. RT reporter Cailyn Zanylo tells us about the MHS Marching Nights practiced and performed amidst the pandemic.
Over the fall season, the marching band and dance line persevered through these COVID-stricken times. Let's take a look at how they did it.
So we practice as normal, given that situation, and we work towards putting together a virtual performance where we recorded the individual sections, and then every individual musician provided an individual recording of themselves, and then I compiled it all together into one complete virtual performance of the song that we worked on, which was Caravan.
It was actually really fun because we felt it was one of those things where we thought we weren't going to get to do it, right? Like we thought we had lost our chance. And then when we kind of had that reprieve and they said that we could do something even in a limited way, it was just really fun bringing everybody back together, and we got to do some of the things with the rookies that we usually do. And those are all, I don't know, they're just special in a lot of ways. Like the first time that they learn to toss their flag, and everybody always gets hit with their flag. And so having this year's seniors there to kind of pass that on was very cool, and to learn some of the traditions of the dance line. So all of that, I don't know, it wasn't a high pressure season by any means because we didn't have a chance to compete. And, there are some things that rookies haven't experienced yet. Like they don't really know what it's like to do the halftime show in the middle of like a sleety football game, halftime of a football game. But they did learn these things from the seniors. We had Autumn Bramhall and Sarah Buell and Mallory Beck as our 3 seniors this year. And so they got to pass a lot of things on. So that made it special.
The main thing is that we were only allowed to have up to 15 people at a time in person. So instead of having the entire wind section together or the entire percussion section together, we had to limit it to just brass, just woodwinds, just the drum line, just the pit. And fortunately, there were only 15 girls in our dance line, so that worked out nicely.
It wasn't anything like a usual band camp, so we're excited to get back to the grind of that next year. But we were able to have a virtual band camp, and so the dancers still had some of those initial skills that they learned together, and they worked from home in their yards. And we used we use Google for that, and it was fun. And so then from there, when we went into our practice schedule, we did just meet once a week this year, and the rehearsals were outside like they always are, and we went down and used the practice field like we always do. So that was all really cool. And I mean, to be honest, it just wasn't a huge time commitment this year. So they almost had like a little taste of what it's like, as opposed to having a full marching band season. It was a little taste for the new dance line members. They're going to have a much better sense next year of what it feels like to do that whole band camp and to have this be such an important part of your fall season. But even if it felt like we did a little bit of a token season, it was still special.
Now let's take a look at Caravan.
Detail and then hot. In this RT Plus segment, Baron Ropp puts his running abilities to the test with a run on the treadmill. But there's a twist. Let's take a look at the challenge.
Running on the treadmill is a pastime not thoroughly enjoyed by many. Today, I'm going to put myself to the test and see how far I can run on the treadmill before I have to stop. But here's the catch. After 8 miles, I have to add 1 degree of elevation each mile from that point. At 10 miles, I have to wear a mask for the rest of the run. And if I make it to 12 miles, I have to put on a ski jacket and continue wearing that until I've finished the run. So join me while I try to run as far as I possibly can. Two miles in, feel pretty good. Not really out of breath, so I will see you at the 4 mile mark. We are officially at 4 miles, so as it's not going to be too taxing until like the 8 mile mark, we are going to do a special thing, trivia with Baron. So, what element has the symbol AU? 5 seconds. Okay, this is 4, 3, 2, 1. It is gold. Yes. Sorry if I come off as bland. This is not easy. Trying to run and come up with questions on the dot. So, all right. Who was the second president of the United States? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you said John Adams, you are correct. All right. See you at the 6 mile mark. Here we are at the 6 mile mark. We have about 2 more miles till I got to start going uphill. So we're gonna see how far we can end up. I think my current goal is just, I don't know, maybe 10 miles or so. It's starting to get a little tough. But yeah, the thing with running on the treadmill and running in general is you're gonna have to have your brain telling you, like, you gotta keep going, you gotta keep going, even if you really don't want to keep going. So, and it's the same way with life. So this is running as far as you can and life lessons with Baron Ropp. Officially at 10 miles, got the mask on, gonna try and go as long as possible. But I am pretty exhausted at this point. Finally made it to 12 miles, so I have the ski jacket in hand. We're gonna try and put this on while running. So, gonna start to get a little toasty. And finally, I'm gonna cap it off. All kinds of incline, and we're at 12.8. So this was a tough run, and it's extremely hot and hard to breathe. So I'm gonna call it here. Thanks for watching.
That's it for this episode of RT Magazine, part of the Roundtable's multimedia experience. Thanks for watching. You can find all of our episodes on mhsroundtable.com, or you can download our app, Student News Source, for access to our articles, videos, and podcasts. Have a great day.